Welcome to Online Business Education with your host, Bob Caspi. In this module, we will be looking at the process of B2B selling. I will explore the actual sales process and examine some of the barriers to closing sales. We'll begin with a closer look at a sales call and some of the barriers to closing. Our goal during the execution of a sales call is to get the customer to understand what the value is to them. It's their interpretation of the value that's important, and that value must align with the customer's mission. In all likelihood, their CEO has created a strategy for them, and your product must align with that strategy. That implies that part of the selling process is learning their strategy. Next, the customer must perceive that the risk, both personal to his career and corporate to his company, is small enough to justify taking a chance on you. Years ago, the traditional method of selling in B2B situations involved setting up your slide deck and making your pitch to the customer. At the end, you would ask for the order. Eventually, salespeople got smarter and started out the meeting by asking the customer, "So what's keeping you up at night?" The customer could then state their problem and what they needed, and the salesperson could comply. Unfortunately, the customers also got smarter and simply told the same problem list to every competing salesperson and then shopped for the best price. Margins eroded. But also, technology was moving too quickly, and customers soon were unable to state what could fix their problems. They might not even be able to state which problem was most amenable to being fixed. The customer was not adequately familiar with all of the advancements in technology that could be exploited, and this led to the third wave of selling process called the challenger sale. In this model, the salesperson and his company are assumed to be experts in their domain. But now they must begin the sales process by learning the customer's business adequately enough to create solutions that are based upon the salesperson's available product technology that can affect a positive change in the customer's business. Essentially, the salesperson and their company become unpaid consultants who first analyze and then design solutions for the customer's business. I would strongly recommend the book pictured here called The Challenger Sale by Dixon and Adamson. As well, the complexity of the proposed solutions and the technology has forced customers to change their decision process from an individual one to a group decision where each member of the group has different domain knowledge. Each constituent of a customer's company requires a custom sales presentation that addresses their unique view of the problem and solution and how it fits their model. For example, the IT manager may be driven by decisions that relate to safety of the internal network, while the production manager may be driven by cost and quality. In summary, the challenger sales method forces changing the focus from the salesperson's product to the customer's business model and requires a deep understanding of that model before being able to proceed. To accomplish this, I suggest a method that I call active listening. In a sales meeting, you must let the customer do most of the talking, but you must also drive the content of the meeting gently into areas that provide you with the needed information, allowing you to shift your frame of reference to theirs. Open-ended questions and subtle changes of topic can be used to move the conversation in the right direction. Ideally, you must discover what the top-down strategy is for the client's business as defined by their CEO. I've actually found that often direct questions can be quite effective and customers simply answer them openly and honestly. When I have helped my clients in sales meetings, I've often used direct interrogation as a path to the needed information, and my clients are often surprised that the customer did not take offense and answered so directly. So it pays to ask. Just be careful to read the customer's body language, and if they seem uncomfortable, then simply back off. Espresso is a client of mine. It's a U.S. startup in the financial services industry, and I have been coaching the CEO and founder on how to become successful at active listening. I present their case as an example of how a customer can redefine your business for you to be what they want it to be, not what you think it should be. As well, Valspresso is an interesting story of a startup with challenges in sales and marketing. Valspresso was founded by Reginald Nozegbe, an immigrant to the U.S. from Liberia, arriving in 1990 when a brutal civil war threatened his and his family's safety. In the U.S., he studied both engineering and accounting, and after a successful career in major consulting and accounting corporations, he had an idea for a product that would provide computer-controlled asset management. His vision was for a product that could fall between managed funds and unmanaged index funds in performance and safety. With his sister's support and the support of other angel investors, he had the financial support to take 20 years of research and create Valspresso. He began his entrepreneurial journey and gave up his highly paid position at a Fortune 100 company. His product is a patented AI, standing for Artificial Intelligence engine, that recommends trades on a daily basis based upon reported company data and market sentiment data that his proprietary algorithms generate. Since no analysts are needed, the cost of management is tiny, and yet the results, as seen from both a return and risk perspective, is better than simple unmanaged index funds. Reggie was driven to create this product so that less wealthy investors could also have the benefit of sound investment advice. Valspresso's technology is impressive, with a combination of a patented method and proprietary processing. Valspresso's automated investment platform has been validated and time-tested with thousands of simulations over 10 years and live fund management for more than 3 years. And Reggie's work has not gone unnoticed with numerous awards. Reggie has also assembled a strong team of advisors and developers who all believed in his vision, but nonetheless, he was stuck. And that's when we met. At first, when we met, he was seeking more capital, but the capital markets had not been forthcoming with the needed cash. At my urging, he started looking for alternative strategies and for rational explanations why growth was hard and would continue to be hard. The root of his problem was that he has no distribution capability, nor does he have much in the way of brand equity in the market. It's not surprising that he's having a hard time reaching customers or convincing those that he does meet to engage. So as an alternative, we started to look at the potential of a channel strategy where Reggie could find a partner with strong brand equity, a strong distribution capability, and plenty of cash who might be interested in the disruptive nature of Valspresso. And we would need to use the challenger sales method and active listening to see how Valspresso's product would and could be utilized by potential partners. An examination of the ecosystem is often a good place to start. In this case, we see 4 major types of blocks. The first block represents the millions of end customers whose money is being invested. And then working backwards, there's a large variety and number of investment companies ranging from hedge funds to index funds and individual brokers who manage those investments. Moving back further, there is another large group of companies who provide tools and data to the fund managers. The data includes financial data reported by public companies and may also include everything up to the weather to help the analysts at fund management companies create algorithms that decide what to trade. The PhD mathematicians who develop those algorithms are often referred to as quants. Valspresso also purchases data from one of those many data and tool providers to create their own proprietary investment advice. Now, Valspresso could try to sell its product directly to consumers, guiding their trading decisions. Or it could try to sell to fund management companies, providing them with a less expensive alternative than using all of those quants. Note that all of the companies on this diagram, with the exception of the consumers themselves, are huge in comparison to Valspresso. A typical fund management company might be Fidelity or Morgan Stanley. A typical data supplier could be Bloomberg or Thomson. Each sales option is challenging. Why should consumers listen to Espresso? How can Reggie afford to communicate with all of them? Why should fund managers abandon their current stable of quants for Reggie's machine? These are the challenges at hand, and frankly, it seemed insurmountable. To Reggie, for him to sell to a fund manager, he sees his value as being one of a technology provider, and the value of Espresso as being to offer differentiation to his customer in their ability to offer a better product to their consumer customers at lower cost. Reggie is willing to offer exclusivity as an enticement to a partner. But is that enough to get an investment house to go first? But life doesn't always go the way you expect. Reggie looks to the data providers who sell both data and tools instead, and he writes emails to all of the majors to see if he can be noticed. And one, FactSet, a billion-dollar company but small in the family of other data providers, replies and sets up a telephone meeting with Reggie. Jonathan, their VP of strategy, will take the call. Reggie applies the active listening methodology and doesn't simply try to sell his product. He describes Espresso when asked, but only in broad terms, and instead seeks a better understanding of FactSet's business and strategy. He learns that all of the data companies are seeing themselves as competing in a commodity business with difficulty in differentiating. He learns that their clients, the quants, want to move away from the customized terminals of companies like Bloomberg into open platform solutions on cloud-based systems. FactSet has responded by creating a new division, Open FactSet, that offers feeds to quants online, but also eagerly invites other data feeds that are complementary to join their website. And Jonathan, while listening, hears a keyword in Reggie's broad description of his product. He hears that Reggie has sentiment data, and Jonathan is intrigued. He says, "We don't have anything like that. That might be interesting." And he offers to introduce Reggie to the Open FactSet team on a follow-up call. Now Reggie has an opportunity to reframe his product to fit the strategy of FactSet. He newly defines it as a data feed of AI-generated data that is derived from company financials plus market data, and he's ready to present it to Open FactSet. His product is no longer an investment advisory product that competes with quants, but rather it is just another source of information to help quants create their own strategies. In some ways, it is a flawless way to enter the market, because it takes the burden away from how good the data is. It only needs to be different and possibly good. Its quality will become the decision of the quants. He's changing his business model to one where he sells his data to the data supplier, who will in turn sell it to the quants at fund managers. How they choose to use it is their decision and their responsibility. This alone reduces the risks, since it shifts the burden to the quants to promptly implement its use, and it shifts the brand equity to FactSet. The call with Brian from FactSet goes better than one could have hoped or expected. Being a new startup themselves, they don't have a lot of scrutiny that they apply to applicants who want to join their website. They're eager to find new data sets, and if the data sets are appealing to their customers, they are prepared to engage with more intensity. Their own youth has offered to Espresso a unique opportunity to piggyback on their sales channel of hundreds of salespeople and thousands of clients for a trivial investment. The important conclusion to be observed is that it is essential that you obtain an understanding of your client's business model and their strategic objectives before you can frame your own product. Beginning the first sales meeting with the intention of learning so that you can properly position your product is key. Then, on the next meeting, you can present the fit between their strategy and your product. Let's look a bit more carefully on what can block a sale. Risk is the first issue to consider. And it's not just the risk to the customer, but it's personal risk to the individual that you're asking to make a decision. Frankly, most workers, especially at large companies, simply want to do their job and go home, kiss their spouse, and play with their kids. Getting fired is the worst of all outcomes. Doing a great job may not get one any more than a pat on the back and a plaque, but doing a lousy job can get you fired. The downside risk is much worse than the upside opportunity. This is true for most employees, except, of course, for the CEO, who's often measured on growth. It is essential that you be rational about analyzing the risk as perceived by your targeted customer, and you must deal with it in a rational way. You cannot expect them to simply be convinced by your charm that the risk is zero because you said so. Common methods to reduce the apparent risk include getting testimonials from trusted individuals. Those could include editors of trade journals who write about your product in glowing terms. I discuss in the module on public relations how to get this done. But your other customers who love your product can also help with testimonials. The closer your customer's business model is to the model of the one creating the testimonial, the greater the chance that they will identify with that person and embrace the value and low risk as stated. Another method that can be used is often referred to as tiki, or try it and keep it if you like it. Of course, this costs money and inventory to do, but it can get you over a hump in the early days. It demonstrates an unwavering belief on your part that your product works and will work for the clients since you are taking the risk. Let's look at a simple case. You present your product and a fair price to a client and ask for the order. The client says no, and you ask why. The client is honest with you and says that they simply don't trust that you will deliver the quality that you say. What should you do? Should you lower the price to get the order? The answer is no, never. If you lower the price, you will only be testing whether the value offered is worth the lower price or not. It would be far better to suggest that the price is fixed, but you are willing to defer payment until the customer is completely happy, even if that could take several months. In every sales process, there are separate constituents in any customer's business who can in some cases be part of the decision process, and in some cases only block a decision. Who these individuals are must be learned by you and managed by you as part of the sales process. Sales teams often find it useful to create a customer sheet that has a slot for all of the known positions that usually influence a sale. For example, the CIO, the CTO, or the CEO. Each box must be filled in, each constituent talked to, and presented to as part of the overall process. As a final tip on selling, let me talk about the concept of cognitive dissonance. We all experience it. It's the way that once we make a decision, we tend to rationalize the decision and give more weight to the factors in favor of that position, essentially congratulating ourselves on a great decision. A good example of cognitive dissonance happens when you get married. When you start, you report a glowing description of your spouse. But if a divorce occurs, all of a sudden the new description of that same person changes into a monster. How could that be? How could the beauty that you once saw be transformed so radically? It's all because of our tendency to reinforce our current position and build a stronger belief in it. Well, customers do it too. It's often why you don't want a customer to feel forced into deciding too early when they might say no. They will then lock into that position and build a rational argument base to preserve it. Rather, you want to use cognitive dissonance to help you. Once a customer decides yes, then immediately leave them alone. Let the decision resonate within their brain and even within their organization. Stop the meeting once a decision is made and then reconnect later. In general, always go into a sales meeting with an objective. It may be as simple as to schedule another meeting or a demo. And never leave the meeting until you reach one of your possible objectives. But equally important, never stay in a meeting or have lunch with a customer after reaching your objective. Never give them the ability to rethink it. In conclusion, B2B selling is complicated, and the process must be approached with patience and with an objective eye to analysis, metrics, and experimentation in order to find success. Good luck, and go close some sales.